In this episode of the Tech John, we discuss the massive Amazon Web Services outage, Windows 10 support officially ending last week, and OpenAI blocking Martin Luther King deepfakes. We got all this and more for you in episode 199 of the Tech John from Columbus, Ohio. I'm your host, Robb Dunewood.
And coming out of Philly, it's your girl Tech Life Steph.
And out of Atlanta, this is Terrance Gaines, aka Brother Tech, aka Candy Corn Season. I am hyped. Get me a bag full of candy corn, watch some old school thrillers, and relax the season away.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I figure
candy corn is disgusting.
I remember that everybody doesn't share my same zeal for candy corn, and you know what? I'm okay with that.
So here's the thing: I'm not really a candy corn fan, but I like black licorice. I know people say that they don't like it, but I don't mind it. It's, you know, I will definitely go with the strawberry first, but I do not mind the black licorice. Just a nice bitter taste to it.
I have another friend of mine who actually loves candy corn, and this is about her time to be posting about, like,
you can't eat a whole bunch of them at one time. You get maybe a couple of them. More than two.
So Steph,
but you can't. Yeah, they'll run out. That flavor will run through your mouth quick. So you gotta in moderation.
So Steph, I gotta ask, because you came on smiling and grinning, looking like you got a secret or something like that. You just got that glow, like you just having a good day. So I'm gonna take it that Amazon didn't bother you today.
No, I wasn't really online much today. I saw it, I saw the headlines, read about it, but I wasn't doing a whole lot until later on in the day. So I'm good.
Well, it did jack me up. It wasn't horrible, but for those who don't know, I guess we done started the show already. Amazon Web Services had a major outage today, and it went down at, like, I don't know, just is either just after 3 or just before 4 o'clock this morning, and they were struggling all day trying to get this stuff up. I think they finally came up right around 4 o'clock or something. But at that point, at least on East Coast time, your whole day is gone at that point. So for me, it definitely affected StreamYard. So I was fortunately, I wasn't recording. I was just trying to do some editing of a show that was already recorded there. And it's just going to delay me. So instead of doing it today, I'll have to do it tomorrow. So that's not a big deal. But I didn't realize how much stuff runs through Amazon Web Services. This affected 34% of the internet from one major data center in the Richmond, Virginia area. So, what have you guys heard about what's all been going on?
I haven't heard anything. I just hope that Amazon companies, big tech companies like Amazon, are taking their products and services seriously, because when they go down, the cascading effects can be pretty severe. So hopefully they're not just letting contractors handle security and cybersecurity and they just farm it off to whomever. I hope they're taking this stuff seriously, because if a couple of them go down at the same time, that is a lot of catastrophe that I hope they are spending millions, if not billions of dollars, trying to neutralize the upcoming cyber warfare. Now, Robb, you want to call some stuff. I'm going to go on record to say the next warfare is going to be completely cyber warfare. We're going to be sending no troops nowhere. We're going to have a bunch of IT dudes sweating in closets trying to fix stuff instead of tanks and stuff trying to attack cities.
I'm right there with you. I've been thinking about, like, today I was literally looking up mesh networks. Do you guys remember the old standard? This was back in the day with cell phones, and it was like, is it going to be CDMA or is it going to be WiMAX? I can't remember what company. It might have been T-Mobile or Sprint. I can't remember who was doing WiMAX. But it was like, this kind of like mesh where you had these little boxes. Instead of having the big cell towers, you could just put boxes in buildings and put them on existing telephone poles and stuff like that. And so it required a lot of them, but it basically allowed you to build this giant mesh network that everybody could use their cell phones through. And I've just started wondering about that. It's like, should we be thinking about like mesh technology or two-way radio? Just because if something goes down and you can't contact the people you want to contact, that breaks society in the way that we live it today. But So just
Well, that's the thing. I was wondering if, a couple things. Why has Amazon been allowed to attain such a large market share of this business? Number one, in a country that is always claiming to want to break up monopolies and all this other stuff, like why do they have such a large market share? And the corollary, I guess, to that is why they don't have more redundancy built into a system that houses 34% of all web traffic. Like that's a significant amount of folks that are significantly impacted when it goes down. So like you should have a level of redundancy built in to where you got to get through like 10 different levels before the entire system quote unquote goes down. So it's just an interesting idea that they wouldn't already have thought that through, especially with all the money they make. And I mean, like I said, being pretty much, the monopoly on this thing at this point, like you making money hand over fist, like there's no reason for you not to have a better level of redundancy built in.
some of the services that were shut down were Venmo, Snapchat, Fortnite, Facebook, Prime Video, Amazon's cloud computing, which there are thousands of websites and services that use that. So it's just so much stuff went down. And there's an analyst. There are multiple analysts that are saying that this outage of basically from from 3 o'clock something this morning until around 3:15, 3:40 this afternoon, depending on which report you look at, that work day is going to cost billions of dollars. Some are saying tens of billions, which just from one day, which I tend to agree with. Somebody even said that this could be over $100 billion that just didn't move. Now they clarified and said I don't think $100 billion will be lost. It's just that over $100 billion couldn't move today because business just couldn't be done for great segments of pretty much all of North America, and Europe was also affected. The UK was very, very severely affected. And these are big countries, so it's really interesting that we put all this
I
stuff
have
in
a
this one
question.
place.
Exactly. All our eggs in this one AWS basket, which is crazy. Question though, do we think this is a sign of things to come, considering how much processing power artificial intelligence needs? Do we think that that had anything to do with it? Number one, the fact that
Like,
AI
hogging
is just
resources.
and yeah, gorging on all of our resources. And do we think this is a sign of things to come while these systems catch up to how much storage and processing power and data and everything? Like AI is just this you know ir- insatiable beast, if you will, when it comes to resources. And so I don't necessarily see this going away anytime soon or getting any better anytime soon, as that AI beast continues to need to be fed.
Especially when we start to reprioritize our power grid to deal with the hunger of AI,
Hmm.
and you just can't make more energy. You got to figure out how to split it out, compartmentalize it, prioritize it. And I could definitely see AI systems and services in the near future getting prioritized over like regular needs and services. Like
over
there may
over
be,
hospitals and whatnot,
yeah, right,
So
yeah, yeah.
do y'all remember
and our
that?
banking system.
Do y'all remember that cinematic masterpiece? It starred Richard Pryor. It was called Superman 3. From back in the day when he built the supercomputer, and that supercomputer it was so smart that it's like I'm just gonna go get my own power. So I started tapping into the the power lines and hitting up Hoover Dam and this and that and the other. And I'm being facetious, but how far are we are we from that? I know that we are going to have to do some major infrastructure as far as building out data centers for power, but the computing is there. It's growing and growing and growing. So I just wonder, and just bring this back around to Amazon. Steph, you asked the question, why are so many people using this one platform? Because it's relatively inexpensive and it actually is really good, except for the 4 out of 5 years that they have a major
Except when
outage.
it goes down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's great when it's not going
yeah,
down.
when it works, it is awesome. But I don't know that the answer is to have 30, 40, 50 different companies to do what Amazon does.
No, I definitely don't think it's that. I just feel like we should have, you know, like, you know, we got Mac and PC. Like there are a few major players in the, you know, smartphone space and the PC space. Like there aren't a ton, but there are a few major ones that have the infrastructure to support the level of traffic and devices and things like that. I just feel like there should probably be another one. And obviously there
there
are
are.
some other ones because
Microsoft Azure is
because
huge.
30, yeah, because
Google Web Service, Google stuff is good. So there are others. It's just that Amazon, it's 4 out of 5 years, they've had a major outage. This might be the biggest one they've had in those 4 out of 5 years that they've had one. But it's like it seems like every year something is going to go down. People's going to get an off day at work while they actually at work sitting there doing nothing because they can't log into whatever system it is they need to log into to get their job done. So when you start looking at just the amount of productivity that is lost because of this outage, it is massive. I was on another show this morning, and one of the things I said is that at some point, either tonight or tomorrow, there will be a postmortem where somebody's going to come out from Amazon and say, see what had happened was, because it's one of those things. And they've already kind of started giving you some indications. We got some of those indications earlier, and they thought that it was up and then it was down, and then they thought it was up and then it was down. And it's like a cascading effect. This is down and something pings it enough time to say, oh, well, this thing was down, therefore something else must be down. It's just like it cascades out and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So this is just a quick hit story for today, but it was massive. Like I said, for me, and I don't really blame Riverside. They can't do anything. It's like their service provider went down. It doesn't make me feel any better for them, but it doesn't make me feel worse for them either, because like, hey, it wasn't you, it was the service provider, and the internet is suffering for this. And I'm just thinking back to, like, when I was in college, they talked about how, the internet, when it was designed so that it would not have these single points of failure. But if you just put everything into one big giant data center or one company that may have multiple data centers, as complex and as high tech as these companies are, they got an issue and they got hundreds of thousands of people that are relying, I shouldn't say people, hundreds of thousands of businesses that are relying on them. Then you're going to have hundreds of thousands of businesses that are sitting there twiddling thumbs until they get whatever figured out.
That's pretty much what I saw all day online, were the memes of people who got the day off of work because they couldn't do anything. So, I mean,
yeah,
it's what it is, man.
I am so glad that I've made the decision to have multiple tools that I use for podcasting. That's what I do all day, every day. So to be able to just have stuff scheduled and just can't record anything would be devastating, because it's like that stuff still needs to get recorded, but I now have to do it on a different day when that service comes back up. It's just easier to have multiple of them. So when folks say, it's like, man, you really carrying like 2 or 3? Because I have 3 services that I actually have that I can record a podcast on. And it makes sense because one of them was down today. Although you could still record, I could not get in and do the editing that I needed to do. So it caused me a problem. So y'all, one of the big news items that happened last week, I know y'all two have moved over to Mac. Steph, that's a recent thing for you. Terrance, I've never known you not to be a Mac user. But Windows 10 finally officially ended support last week. I believe it was Tuesday last week on the 14th. But this number is kind of crazy to me. 40% of all PCs in use still run Windows 10. And it's like, okay, well, 40%. Well, that means there's 60% that don't. But 40% of Windows users is hundreds of millions of users. There's two places that have more people than use Windows, and they are China and India, the two biggest countries on the planet. They've got more people than there are Windows users. No other place has more people than there are Windows users in the world. So that's a lot of folks. But if you do have Windows, and you're not planning on upgrading to Windows 10, and there are a lot who aren't, you can still kind of get support. At least you can get security patches and security updates if you essentially just log into Windows Update with a Windows account. So they aren't just leaving you out cold. But Microsoft has basically said, "All right, y'all, we for real now. Y'all need to get up off this operating system."
Well, you can extend the support. According to this story, it says in September, Microsoft confirmed that
Mhm.
customers in the European Economic Area will be eligible for free security updates. If you're in the US, you'll need to extend your support through Microsoft's Extended Security Updates program. So it ain't even automatic. And like you mentioned, it's only security bug fixes and stuff, not any new features.
None whatsoever.
Well, this, I think is just a case of planned obsolescence striking again. It's funny. It's very interesting. Well, it's not interesting. It was probably very strategic. There was an HP TSV for anybody that watches home shopping, QVC or HSN. There is one product that is on sale for the day. On QVC, it's called Today's Special Value. On HSN, I think it's called the Today Special, but it's on sale all day long. It's deeply discounted, the whole nine. Yesterday, or it was either yesterday or the day before, but it was not any further out than the last 48 hours. There was an HP PC as the TSV. Say that 5 times fast. I'm very curious if it was rolled out specifically because they knew that this Windows 10, phase out was coming up, because they used that in the full disclosure, I used to work for QVC for quite a number of years, and I was the rep for HP on air. I sold computers and printers on air at QVC for a couple years. So the timing of the TSVs is not by accident. And part of the sales pitch that they gave in selling these new computers was that Windows 10 was going away. And if you have an old computer, you may not be able to get the update to Windows 11. Your computer may not support that. So this is why you need to buy a new computer. So I say all that to say, the idea of planned obsolescence, where they are building in the fact that you're going to have to get a new device sooner rather than later, it all seems to fit a little too, perfectly in the puzzle, and it's just one of those things where they're just forcing us forward with new devices that we may not even need in the measure in the pursuit of progress, or whatever they're using as the justification for us needing new devices like every 2 years.
So here's my thought on this. Windows 10 has been supported longer than any other Microsoft operating system, other than literally Windows 1.0, which was supported all the way up from like the 80s all the way up until the early 2000s. So this is the second longest. And so when you think about what was before Windows 10, Windows 95, Windows 98, Windows NT versions, none of them have had this level of support. So what I think is happening to Microsoft, and what has happened to Microsoft, is what is now happening to phone manufacturers. It used to be that, and folks like us, we couldn't comprehend using a computer for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. It's like that computer 10 years later is so slow compared to what you had 10 years before. You would never even dream about trying to use a computer that was beige, from back in the day. But what has happened probably 10, 12 years ago is that these PCs is like, yes, they keep getting stronger and faster and having more memory and having more stuff in them. But what we do on them really hasn't changed that much. So unless you are at the top end of processing needs, where you're an artist, or you're a digital, you're creating, you're doing video or something like that, or you're a gamer where you just need the highest end hardware that came out like in 2017, 2018, that hardware may not be capable of running Windows 10, but is absolutely capable of running I'm sorry, not capable of running Windows 11, but absolutely runs Windows 10 very, very well if you keep that machine up to date. So the problem that Microsoft is having is that, well, they don't want to continue to support an operating system forever. But, like I said, if you just leave Windows 1 as an outlier, they supported this one for longer than anything else, and they've actually extended support on it. I mean, they were planning to end support on Windows 10 even before October 14th. They wanted to do this, I think, last year, and a few years ago decided it's too soon. We're going to keep this going. So I think what's happening now is that they are going to say that, like you are right, that in the UK, or I think actually in the European Economic Area, they're keeping Windows 10 going because the law kind of says that they needed to. So they're keeping it going there. But everywhere else, they are ending support. Support ended, official support ended last week. So you're no longer going to get like the half a year update, the year updates. You're not going to get these big updates. All you're going to get is security. And in order to do that, you had to do one of three things. You either had to pay for it, which nobody should do. You could create a Windows account, log into your Windows account on your Windows 10 PC, go to the Windows update page and just say enroll in extended security updates, the ESU program, and then you have it until I believe it's October 13th next year. Or if you have 1,000 Microsoft points, you can use 1,000 Microsoft points to get the upgrade for free. So I do want to tell people that if you are not upgrading your Windows 10 machine to Windows 11, or you cannot physically upgrade it to Windows 11, you do want to make sure that you are still getting these security updates, because I think a lot of folks that probably are still running Windows 10, they may not pay attention to the security updates like they probably should. And you will now be a target. It's not like you weren't a target before, but you will absolutely be a target for people who have figured out how to do stuff in Windows, knowing that there are a ton of people who are not getting updates that are getting these things patched, and they may try to take advantage of your lack of knowledge that you do still need to update your PC. But I think that after 2026, I think this time next year, I think Windows is really going to be done with it, with the exception of some probably very expensive edge cases.
Absolutely. All the more reason I'm so happy I switched to a Mac.
And
I'm
I'm
not
pretty
gonna
sure
lie.
I'm pretty sure a lot of stuff is holding Microsoft back from creating, releasing, and deprecating a lot of softwares, because there's so many different systems. It's not just, we tend to think of computers as in the general public think of computers as a laptop or a desktop, right? And we use it for school, or we use it for our jobs, and then that's it. There are so many different systems that use Windows in so many different weird customized ways that was made specifically for that one purpose, and they didn't have to upgrade, and they probably didn't want to upgrade because it costs more money to upgrade than it did to put the thing together in the first place. And the thing that's just working right now is just working. So it's just like, nah, I'm not upgrading. And Microsoft is like, please upgrade, please. And companies are like, nah, we're good. It works. And now they're like, all right, once we flip this switch, and then now they got to deal with people who's coming to them and saying, oh, well, you can't. And Microsoft in the past, I'm pretty sure they've kind of came back off of their aggressive update schedule, because they've got a lot of stuff rolling. So hopefully maybe Microsoft now is getting to a point with Windows 11 to where some of those systems are in the cloud, and people are, so they don't necessarily need physical hardware or software for physical hardware. So that makes it easier to upgrade when it's all in the cloud anyway.
That was a big thing for Microsoft, actually putting VMs that are running these older operating systems in the cloud, so that, hey, you want to keep running this stuff, we're going to run it inside of Azure. So we can make sure that you are updated there. We'll block kernel stuff that comes in because you're running on our VMs. That was a big deal for Microsoft. That was probably one of the reasons why they actually extended the support until last week. But we're getting to the point to where, how long should a company have to support software that came out over, in this case, Windows 10 didn't come out like 20 years ago. It's 5 or 6 years ago. I think when it come out in like 2020, 2019. It's not been that long since Windows 11 came out. But at some point, you have to stop supporting the old stuff so that you can get people up on the new stuff. And in this particular case, I'm not really mad at Microsoft, because if you say that this is the longest supported operating system outside of Windows 1, back when it wasn't, most people didn't know what Windows was back when Windows 1 came out. If that's how far back you're going, I'm not terribly mad at it. I think that they've done their job, and at least you still can get security updates. But I'm just thinking, I think that next year this time, that's it. There's some, like, you got to give us money if you want us to continue to support this stuff, because we're now starting to see
I
even
mean,
applications that are no longer going to be supported on Windows 10 at this point.
To your point, I get it. I mean, obviously technology has to continue to move forward, but I think, I don't know that it's necessarily fair or realistic to just assume everybody's just going to be able to get a new machine. Like I feel like there has to be some and I appreciate the compromise they're doing now, as far as, we're going to keep this going. You can do it these ways. You can get your upgrade. We'll keep the security, but you won't get the features. And like, I get it. I absolutely get it. But a computer is not, it's a significant investment for a lot of people. And it shouldn't be that we all have to be planning to make this investment even every 5 years. I think that's even a lot to ask of a lot of people in this country. Is like, every 5 years, like clockwork, I got to get a new computer because I know my old one's not going to support whatever the new stuff that comes out. And I don't know what the compromise is with this, because I know chips get better and architectures get better and storage gets better and things get lighter and faster and all that good stuff. But again, there has to be some, maybe you sunset it, but it becomes this heritage system that can live on older PCs, that, something. There has to be something, because I just don't think it's fair or right to expect the entire population of the world to be buying a new computer every 5 years. Like, that just, I don't know. It just doesn't seem, and now, with the e-waste problem we already have,
That's a big
we're not
deal too.
recycling these things, like we should. So, like, we got to figure out a different way to get the latest and greatest whatever. And maybe you don't even need the latest and greatest. Just make sure my shit still works. I'm fine with the old shit. Just keep it working for me. You know what I mean?
So here's
It's
the
just like,
question, though.
I don't know.
Who is that Microsoft's responsibility to support whatever they come out with into perpetuity? That's because I know you didn't say that, but that's ultimately what you're saying.
Well, considering you're $1 billion company,
Trillion.
you can do it. It may or may not be your responsibility, but you have the resources to do it. You just need to have the will to create, like I said, a heritage system that folks can always sort of default back to, that's sort of reverse compatible and all that other shit. And you just should not be expecting people to need to buy computers every that eventually you're all going to need a new computer. If you have a 10-year-old machine, it's probably not going to work. The battery is probably going to be a problem for you. But just this every 2 to 3 to 5 year update is just, it's just wasteful.
And
it's incredibly wasteful.
So just to push back a little bit, I don't think that this is that, because Windows 10 came out over 10 years ago. It came out in July of 2015. So it's been out for over 10 years. And so with supports for patches and stuff like that, they will support it for 11 years. As I said, it will be the second longest supported Windows operating system in history. The only one that has been longer was Windows.
Right. It's been out for 10 years. But if I just bought my new computer 2 years ago,
or my
well, that's
whole
just
system,
but you wouldn't have bought a new
computer.
if you bought a new computer two years ago, you would have the ability to upgrade to Windows 11.
True.
So
true.
the problem is that folks who have PCs that maybe aren't 10 years old, but like they got them like 2016, 2017, maybe 2018, you might have bought because we always think that when people go to like Best Buy and buy a computer, they're getting the brand new, hottest, fastest computer on the planet. That may not be the case. It may be new to them, but it may have been sitting on that shelf, or in a warehouse for 18 months, 2 years. So what I think where a lot of problem is that, and we will talk about the specific thing here. The reason that so many people are still on Windows 10 is because it's not that they don't want to upgrade. It's like, hey, I'll upgrade to the new thing. They physically can't upgrade to the new thing. And it is, what is it called here? If they don't have the TPM module, the trusted platform module, which that came out, I want to say 16, 17 years ago. It's been a while. It was in the, in the early, 20 teens, or, maybe even the late aughts. It's been out for a minute. But if you didn't get that in a piece of hardware, you are incapable of upgrading your PC to Windows 11. So that's what the problem is for a lot of folks, is that Microsoft is saying that in order to run Windows 11, you must have a TPM module, actually a TPM2 module in your machine. If you don't have that, you can't upgrade. So that's where a lot of folks are. And as I was saying earlier, a lot of these machines, they just run well. They do what they do well on Windows 10. And then you have folks who are just like, I just like the Windows 10 interface more than I like Windows 11. I don't want to have to, get the new muscle memory. So I would just like to continue to use it.
Right. And that's the thing. If I have a perfectly good machine that it may be a little bit older, but still works, still does everything I needed to do, the idea that I need to arbitrarily either buy a new machine or, pay for some sort of hardware upgrade or whatever, like, why can't I just continue to use the thing that I've been using that works? It just doesn't seem right. Something about that doesn't seem right.
Terrance, do you know what the oldest iPhone off the top of your head is? What is the oldest supported iPhone?
The oldest supported for like with iOS 26,
like where you can still get patches and stuff like that. I know that like if you got an original iPhone, you're not getting updates on that anymore. But how far back can you go on like an iPhone?
And work, or just like support the latest operating system?
Not even necessarily the latest operating system, just security updates, so that you are running a fully patched, piece of hardware.
You can get all the way back to the 10R, the 10X, 10S, and the 10X. Yeah, okay. You can get back that far. iPhone 10s, iPhone 8s won't cut it. iPhone 10s just ran out of support for iOS 26. So iPhone 11 and up can support iOS 26 that just came out.
Okay.
Is that what you're asking?
That's what I was asking. Mm-hmm. So you're getting, what was that, the 7-8 years on an iPhone. I know you're getting like 7 years on Samsung phones. I think on Pixels from Google, you get 6. So this is the problem that has already been an issue for PCs, just because going back to the mid 20s, mid 20, like 2012 to 2015, those machines, if you're not doing a lot other than browsing the web on them, and they got, they got at least 4 gigs of RAM in them, they run Chrome pretty well. Not going to run 56 windows of Chrome pretty well, but they'll run 1 or 2. So just to, get off of this point, one thing that I will say is that I have upgraded. I have a laptop sitting behind me that I'm actually going through the upgrade to to Chrome OS Flex. So it's basically like the free version of Chrome that you can Chrome OS that you can put on a PC, and it's fully supported. So that's what I'm going to try on this old laptop. I have a Windows 10 machine sitting on the other side of me that I have no intention of doing anything at least 4 years. Like, okay, I already was in the Windows Update program. I'm still in it, so I will be using that for another year, because I just got that PC probably like in 2018, 2019. It was not a brand new PC it was brand new to me, but it wasn't brand new. Like, it had been sitting on the shelf for a while, but I just saw a deal that I just couldn't pass up, and wasn't thinking about, is this going to be able to be upgraded to the next version of the operating system that Microsoft puts out 2 or 3 years from now. Just wasn't thinking about it. And so I'm just telling you right now, it's like, I will run that thing until I can no longer get security updates on it. And then I will put, as long as this laptop runs Chrome well, I'll go ahead and put Chrome on that thing, because it's one of those all-in-one PCs. It's real slick. It's got the wireless mouse and keyboard, and I think I can upgrade that thing to Chrome. And all I use it for is like the PC that people come to the house and, hey, can I jump on the computer? Yeah, go jump on that thing that I don't care about. And that's what I use it for. And like I said, it is there's no reason for me to spend more money to have people be able to do the thing that they can do on this thing perfectly fine. And I think a lot of folks are in that same boat. So, y'all, we have been talking now. This is the third week where we're talking about Sora. This isn't so much about Sora as it is about what OpenAI has decided to do with Sora and other of their artificial intelligence tools. But at the behest of the King family, and I want to say the Robin Williams family, they were in on this as well. They have decided to allow people who have passed away for their estates and their families to opt them out of using their likeness in deepfakes. So there have been some videos of Martin Luther King in them that are just, I mean, they're just horrible. It's like, why would you do that to this person? And I know people are going to say, well, isn't that infringing on First Amendment speech? Yeah, kind of. OpenAI has made the decision that we are going to allow the families to decide how their family members' likeness can be used on our platform. And I don't have a problem with that. It's not the government saying it. It is a private, a private institution. I should say it is not a public sector. It is a private sector business that is making that decision. But these videos have gotten pretty crazy as far as what they have deceased people doing. I know Michael Jackson's estate, we talked about that last week. They were very upset about some of the stuff that was being put out as well. And I know, Steph, you actually stuck a story in here about deep fakes maybe even coming to an end. But I just wanted to get your takes on what do you think about OpenAI saying, nah, you can't use Robin Williams, you can't use Martin Luther King, and just deep fakes in general?
I think the cat's out of the bag already. They talked about in the article removing, quote unquote, removing the likenesses from their database. And I'm like, can you even do that? Once you've trained the LLM on this information, I don't know that you can. And maybe I just don't know how LLMs work, but it doesn't seem to me like you'd be able to say, don't think about that thing. And I feel like somebody would still be able to go in and maybe not get, archival footage because, but they would still say, make a Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King like person say these things. Like I feel like there's going to be a loophole sort of workaround for this thing, sort of tap dancing on that line between, well, it's not actually them, it's just inspired by them or something to that effect. So I just, I appreciate the fact that the families don't want their loved ones' likenesses used, but I just feel like folks are going to find a way around this anyway.
Yeah, and I don't understand. Well, I mean, I get it, I understand completely, but just throwing it out there, why couldn't OpenAI and Sora do it the opposite way and say celebrities, especially deceased celebrities, their families must write in and give us permission
You know
to then
why,
use.
Terrance. You
I don't
know
understand,
why.
but yeah, I mean, this is going to happen when you just let people do whatever and then just like
Ask
either
for
cross your
forgiveness and
fingers.
not
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
permission.
Right.
Mhm.
And I mean, of course, people are going to take the most known, notarized public people and use them for all kind of crazy stuff. So, I mean, I'm not surprised, not surprised at all. Outside of, I mean, I knew this was coming. But I'm assuming the open AI people did too,
Yeah, they
and they were
did.
just like, we're okay with it. We'll like Stephanie said, we'll ask for forgiveness later.
So here's what I think. To really answer your question, Terrence, as to why it doesn't go the other way, you'd have to define a not for that. It's like, show me all stuff that is not all the stuff I don't want to be shown. That's programmatically problematic. So I think they're going to do, they are going to go the route of, oh, you don't want this in here, we'll pull it out. Oh, you don't want this in here, we'll pull
Yeah,
it out.
but they do that anyway. They do that all the time. It's just
Mhm.
this they knew that more people were going to want to make likenesses of all of these people, and knowing that, okay, well, they're going to do it anyway, so we're just going to let them, versus saying, hey, you shouldn't do that. This is not what we're supposed to be using our software for, which is what you would think with all of the skittishness of people already being suspect about AI. You ain't helping them by just saying, hey, use Martin Luther King to promote your next party. You're not creating good faith in people who are suspect that your software may be used to run the world one day by just letting them just do it right now.
Well, and then too, I mean, Saray makes a great point. She said it will require a lot of effort to decide who's famous and who's famous enough. Like how are we delineating
Yeah, I would start by
celebrity?
deceased. I
Yeah.
would start with deceased. If you're deceased, then you need to get special permission. Like
Hmm.
Prince, Michael Jackson, everybody, Pope, whomever on down. You got to can't be deceased. Then you got
Yeah.
to put some extra, and then go from there. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So here's my thought on this. If I were a cynical person, I would think that people at OpenAI, let's put the Sora out, and we're not going to put any rappers on it outside of child pornography. That's the only rappers we're going to put on it because that
And
causes
that
us problems.
barely.
That's
I
barely.
don't even know
That's
that. I don't
barely.
even know that that's
But
there.
they probably said, you know what, that we're not going. We don't want those kind of problems. Outside of that, let's let everybody do whatever they can do, and let's just see what
Absolutely.
happens. See how popular this thing gets. I would, like I said, I don't know that this is the truth, but I just know that it is. That somebody thought about, oh, this is gonna be a whole problem after about a week or 10 days. I mean, Steph,
Hmm.
it was what, a week
And they
after
were like,
Sora
we
came
don't
out? Oh,
care.
we're gonna allow
Yeah.
smut now. Because they
Hmm.
figured out, oh, this is what we have. So I
We not
think
making no
now,
money.
I don't want to say that they knew that people were going to use Martin Luther King videos to just put some heinous stuff out there, or they were going to use Robin Williams videos to put heinous stuff out there, or Michael Jackson or whomever. I can't say that they knew that it was going to be that, but they knew that it was going to be that. You know what I'm saying?
They
Like,
knew it was going to be
they knew it was going
something.
to be a problem. But let's let it be the problem, and then we'll come in and say, okay, you can now opt out of this if you don't want this for your deceased, relatives, or estates can say, we don't want Michael Jackson in here. We don't want John Lennon in here. We don't,
And
we're going to allow them
and
to
maybe
do
they
that.
do. And maybe they do, because I mean, has anybody seen any Elvis Sora lookalike, fake alikes, what they call them?
Deep fakes.
Deep fakes. Have we seen, who haven't we seen that you could be like, all right, what's really
On the
going
same
on?
token, there are probably some estates that are not mad at what's being created. But go ahead. It gets them talking about whomever, if it was done tastefully, and then you have to determine, well, whose taste are you running these things by. But I'm
And
certain
I
that some
think
people are
people,
absolutely okay with maybe not deceased folks, but people who are here is like, I'm cool with Sora doing what Sora's doing, because if
well,
anything, he's still talking about me.
Sam Altman put his image out there to be available for people to do. And
Hmm.
people were creating deep fakes of him looking like he was shoplifting at Target and all kind of random stuff. So, you know, people have definitely, volunteered their likenesses for this kind of thing.
Mhm.
But again, I think this is lip service. I don't know that you're going to be able to completely
Hmm.
remove the ability for people to create likenesses, because
Yeah.
they can always say it's not that person, it's
That's right.
just a black
Hmm.
man with a mustache that,
In a suit that
exactly,
talks
in
this
a
way.
shirt and tie, like that,
Mhm.
because you can look at the prompt and say that I didn't say create Martin Luther King giving a speech. I said create a black man with a mustache and a tie
Mhm.
so you
Mhm.
can. I feel like there's enough of a way to get around any sort of
Hmm.
guardrails. And first of all, I don't think the guardrails are going to be that great and that stringent anyway, but I think there's just going to be so many easy ways to get around those guardrails, by manipulating the prompts, that it's not going to matter anyway.
I think sometimes we hear a company say, we're going to stop somebody from doing this, and we jump to, but if you can't stop everybody, then what was the point? My gut will tell me is, if you're no longer can create Martin Luther King videos, the way that people were doing it the easy way. Here's Martin Luther
Right.
King, and put this, here's a prompt using Martin Luther King, where you're saying the man's name, and that's the prompt that you're using. You can no longer do that. It's probably going to cut out 99% of all the Martin Luther King videos. And that is what OpenAI is like. Okay, that's a win for us. If we're going to cut 99% of this out, there's always going to be the people on the fringe who are going to do what they do and get around it. And I think we have to be careful not to always think that when a company says we're going to put a wrapper around something, to think that they're going to stop everything. Like, I think when we're talking about, the laws that are being put in place to stop like child pornography, to stop actually, children from getting access to just regular pornography on the internet, those laws are not intended to have 100% compliance. They would like to have 100% compliance, but the goal is if we put this rule in place, does it make it harder for the 12-year-old to get to OnlyFans in Mississippi? Does it make it harder for the 13-year-old to get to whatever site they shouldn't be getting to in Arkansas? If that is true for 90% or 95%, then that's a win. I think you take that, because you're never going to get complete 100% adherence to any rule or regulation that gets put in place. So I just do want to say that I am 100% with you, Steph. I think that this is still going to be a hot mess, but I do believe that you have to
mitigate
understand
for
it.
as much as possible.
Yeah, it's like, is it going to curb it? That is what they're going for. We want to curb this thing from happening. We don't want to. They would love to eliminate it. They just know that any law you put in place is not going to eliminate anything. It's just going to make it harder.
I just feel like they want the appearance of curbing. I think there's a difference there. So that's the cynic.
The other part of this too is that, and this is only for people who have passed away. This doesn't. If you are a public person and your likeness is available publicly and it's in this database, they're going to still be able to do what they want to do on people who are still living. Now we'll see. Will a rule come out on that? What it's going to take, to me, in my opinion, for a rule to come out against that, and it's not a law, it's a rule, because the law says that you can parody people. That there's nothing, that is First Amendment. As long as we still have that, our First Amendment is being tested every single day. But last time I checked, you still do have the ability to parody folks. So I think that is going to be something that's not going to go away unless you are parodying something that is copyrighted material, which that they already have, rules in place for that. So I think that it is going to get better, but it's not going to go away. But Steph, I did want to touch on the story you stuck in here about, this lawsuit for this teen girl that is actually suing a company that creates software specifically to take clothes off of people.
Right. Right. There is a young lady hold on, my computer wants to act up now. She's suing the maker of an AI clothes removal tool, and she's suing Telegram as well, and a separate lawsuit against the classmate who created the deepfake of her when she was 14 years old. So this was the incident that occurred 2 years ago at Westfield High School in New Jersey. The girl was one of several students who discovered a classmate had used some of their photos from their social media to generate fake nude images. And, these images showed up in the group chats and all that good stuff. So she got together with a Yale Law School professor and a group of his students and a trial attorney, and they filed a lawsuit on behalf of this teenager against the company behind the app, as well as Telegram, which is listed as what they're calling a nominal defendant in the case, because that app was accessible through Telegram, Telegram's messaging platform. And they're suing the boy again in a separate lawsuit for creating the deepfakes in the first place. And, it's interesting because, I tend to come on this podcast and talk about these sort of initiatives as like, it's not going to do much. You got to get to that. And I still believe that, media literacy and education and all that stuff and parental involvement is what is really going to move this needle. However, this just really caught my eye because I feel like, if we can show that you can hit these companies in their wallets significantly enough, we might see, and to your point, Rob, to your very point you made about and what we just talked about, if you can get enough of them um fearful of a potential lawsuit, you could eliminate a significant portion. Now, you're not going to get rid of all the companies. Folks are going to find a way to use VPNs and reroute
Mhm.
traffic and do all the things they want to do if they're legitimately committed to being a jackass. But you know, this could be that thing that cuts out a significant portion of people who don't want to necessarily have to contend with a potential lawsuit. I mean, this for some reason, and I don't necessarily know why I feel this way. I don't necessarily have a legitimate reason for why I feel this way, but I feel like this particular lawsuit may have the legs that will discourage other companies from doing this kind of thing, or discourage enough other companies from doing this, that people start to change their behavior just a little bit, or at least that's what I'm hopeful it'll do.
Yeah, and this, like you mentioned, this one may have a little bit more legs because, again, you would think that the whole, again, I'm not a Section 230 person, but the fact that the images were available or shared through the Telegram app, but in addition to that, the actual app itself that the person used to make the photos, the service itself was available inside of Telegram. I'm thinking like as an extension of
Mhm.
some sort,
Mm-hmm.
or like an extra keyboard or something. Like you can go in some apps and change the keyboard to get the Giphy keyboard or the Jiffy key or whatever you want to call it. It sounds like the app that the person used to create the photos was somehow connected to Telegram, so that's why they are included. And I think that goes what Stephanie said, to where if these companies really got to like stand up and say this is why we did this, or this is not why, or this, versus just them being able to just change some terms and services and go about their business, they actually have to stand up and take the stand and plead their case. That may be enough of a deterrent as well to say, all right, well, we're not even going to bother with making this accessible in the app store because we don't want that smoke.
Right.
You brought up Section 230, Terrance, and you stole my thunder on this because I was going right there with you on this, because I'm wondering, it's one thing when a social media company says we can't control what people post. Once we see it, we'll take it down. But the fact that they posted it, we should be covered from that. It's something completely different when a social media company says, oh, they created this thing with our software, yet we should still be covered from the thing that we ultimately allowed them to create on our platform. That seems like that is different than somebody just posted something that was created somewhere else, as compared to, no, you created this thing
You
with this
created the
tool.
thing that makes it possible.
Right.
Exactly. And this company is trying to act like, oh, we didn't know that this was how it's. The app is called Clothe Off. Like, bro, come on. So the plaintiff is asking a judge to order Clothe Off to delete and destroy all nude images it possesses of children and adults who didn't provide consent, to not use such images to train their AI models, and to effectively remove the website and the tool from the internet. If the defendants don't appear in court or respond to the suit, the plaintiff's lawyers expect the court could enter a default judgment and block the software in the US. And again, because the company that created this app is based in the British Virgin Islands, and is believed to be operated by people in Belarus, and that had been a big problem for this type of thing in the past, is that a lot of these websites, especially like revenge porn websites and things like that, are not in the United States, so it was making it hard for them to be prosecuted and go after them and things like that. Like I said, this feels a little different because even though the company is not based in the US, it still feels like they have a strong enough case to get this app removed and banned from app stores in this country. And again, I think this could set a really valuable, to Terray's point as well, setting a precedent of responsibility is valuable all around. And I
Mhm.
think people might see this and say, oh, damn, they actually won that, John. So let me fall back and rethink what I was gonna do and figure out a different way. I'm like, there's a million different ways to do, you know, quasi pornographic shit on the internet. You don't have to
Help.
yes, you and move it along and
Right.
victimize people who haven't given their consent. There's a million people who would be more than happy to jump on an app and have their clothing removed and all that other stuff. Like, you don't have to add fuel to the fire to give people the tools to victimize other people. And so, you know, hopefully this will be something that acts as a deterrent for that going
Yeah,
forward.
at the end of the day, these companies are profit first organizations. That's what they are. So take morality out, take doing the right thing out. The right thing for
Mhm.
them is basically
Make
maximizing
some
share
money.
value, value, make as much money as you possibly can. So if they make a determination is that, you know what, the fines are not that bad based off of what we make, we'll just pay the fines. But if it gets to where the fines or the settlements or the rulings get to
Mhm.
where it is untenable for them to continue to operate at that loss, then they will make a change. And it's sad, but it's sad that that you have to sometimes, this is the way it's going to go. We're going to hit you in the pocket until you change your behavior. And that's ultimately the only way you can make these big
That's it.
giant companies change their behavior, because if they're not running based off of morals, or they're not running based off of doing the right thing, if they're not running based off of just being good citizens in on the earth, then you have to go to, okay, I'm going to assume no morality, and it's just like, you will make less money if this continues to happen. Okay,
Mhm.
we don't like making less money. Let's change up. That's what we have to do. So I hope that they don't carve out another portion of Section 230 to where they allow these big companies to get away with, oh, well, we're not actually creating it. We're just the tools. We're just giving the guns and the bullets and
Right.
training on how to shoot to the 12-year-olds.
Exactly. So, we'll see. I'll be keeping my eye on this one though, definitely.
So, not necessarily a tech story, but did y'all pay attention at all to any of the No King's Day protest that went
Yeah, there
on
was
this past
I
weekend?
there was
saw the AI generated video the White House put out shitting
That's
on
yeah.
our citizenry. Like, I did see that. Like, WTF? Come on. Like, we're living in fucking bizarro world right now. Like, it's
yeah.
crazy. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
speaking of bizarre world, right? In my neighborhood, in my area, it's let's just say it's a ultra suburban area. Read between the lines. But they had a No King's Day protest. I'm like, look at this neighborhood. Look at y'all. Honk the horn and everything. Beep, beep, beep.
Mhm.
Look at y'all out here protesting when you really ain't got to. This is one of the neighborhoods where they really ain't got to. It's like, look at
I
y'all being some allies. Beep, beep.
Trying.
I hope that people understand that we're not headed for a slippery slope. That we
Oh,
are
we didn't
literally
slid
we
all
are
the way down.
literally on
Yeah.
a mountain somewhere in Colorado, going down that joker real fast right now. It is
Mhm.
this is not potentially what could happen. It is happening right now. This is just my opinion. It's not the opinion of the Tech John or anything that supports the Tech John, but I think that we already have we have an oligarchy in this country. We've had that for a while, but we now have a president that I believe he's not a dictator yet, but he
Not
definitely
yet.
got some dictatorish tendencies. Um,
Well, and they just demolished part of the east wing of the White House.
Well,
Literally today.
he's got to build that big giant ballroom that'll look
I'm
like
like, that's
the Trump
not
Tower.
even your house. You don't own that. It's not your house.
Steph, you must assume that he plans on leaving that Joker.
Nuts.
The
Nuts.
the only time,
Bizarro world.
and this is my opinion, and we maybe should put this in the after party. So this is the kind of stuff we talk about in the after party, y'all. You should come and hang out with us after we get done doing the show. But I'll just say this: I don't think he has any intention on ever leaving the White House unless it is in a box, and I'll probably saying you need to bury me in Arlington, Arlington Memorial Cemetery, because I was the commander in chief. Therefore, I technically was in the military. Therefore, I should get the military rights that all military people get.
We should save this for
Yeah,
the after
I'm just
party.
saying. I think that's what it's
Mhm.
going to be. But y'all, this was a fun one. We did 3 stories this week. And I don't. It's funny. Y'all tell me all the time because I'm always worried about, do we have enough stuff to cover? Do we have enough stuff to cover? It's like, Rob, whatever you put in there, we're going to talk about it for an hour. So I'm now learning that because I felt like maybe we need to go get this other story. We know we don't. So
Yeah.
let's go ahead and wrap it up. I will say this. I'm going to try to find a try to find a spotlight. We have not done a spotlight in a couple months. So I want to get back to doing.
I'm on it. I'm on it. I'll find one for next week.
Okay. I'll let you,
Yep.
I'll let you take it. Say less. But yeah, we want to get back to doing spotlights. Let folks know about some of the folks who look like us who have done some amazing things in the world of technology. But I will say this as well, folks, is that we have we went through, we have shouted out all of our founding 50. In the at the top of the show. We did it for about, I think, 9 weeks. We went from show 190 all the way through 198 last week. And we're just going to shout out one person here at the show. You've heard this name many, many, many times because we always talk about Saray T. Willis. We talk about Saray in the being in the after party, she's always in the in our live stream. She is a real one. And the reason we're shouting Saray out is that she did something with her account at the beginning to where she actually got out of the founding 50 and then came back in, and we just couldn't get her back in because it filled back up. So she technically wasn't a founding 50, but she is a founding 50. She was one of the first people to support the show.
Absolutely.
And when I say Saray shows up to this show more than we show up to the show, she has fewer absences on our show than we have on our show. So this last week, I just wanted to give the shout out to Saray. You have been holding us down for over 4 years now. We appreciate you.
True rider
So much. So like I said, that's like, I'm looking at that, like, I don't remember saying Saray's name because she's not in the founding 50, but it's like, you know what? And she supports above the level of the founding 50. So it's like, Saray is holding us
the
down.
Founding one. The founding one.
And we have a lot. We appreciate all of our founding 50 that we shouted out, but we would be remiss if we did not shout out Saray, who technically isn't in the founding 50, but is a real one from day one. So with that, y'all, we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. But I will say that if you're wondering, well, what is these founding 50 and what is Saray's not a founding 50? These are supporters of the show. These are folks who support us in our Patreon. Because it's not inexpensive to do this. We got lights and cameras and all this other kind of stuff that we're doing to bring this tech to you the way that we bring it to you. And our patrons are the ones who are doing the most to support the show. So if you would like to become a patron, and we implore you to become one, head over to thetechjawn.com. That's the techjawn.com/Patreon, and you will find multiple tiers over there. Any one of which gets you access to our live stream and after party that we're about to go into right now. And a few of those actually get you access to an ad-free stream. So if you're listening on audio and you don't want any ads in there, become a patron and you can get those ads out. So once again, head over to thetechjawn.com/Patreon if you would like to support the show. With that being said, Tech Life Steph, tell folks how they can get at you.
You can follow me all around the web at Tech Life Steph, or head to my website at stephaniehumphrey.com and sign up for my newsletter.
And you can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH.
And I am at Robb Dunewood on all the things. And we're also at the Tech Jawn, the Tech JAWN on all things. So come holler at us however you holler. And until we meet again in a week's time, peace.
Peace.